So listen, as days go by and months go by and years go by, there's nothing in life that's better than learning experiences. And I can tell you from my standpoint, and I share about this often in my videos, that, I wish everybody a slow success journey, fail mightily. What I mean by that is perception of failure is not genuinely or truly failure unless you think it is. I think it's more about if you fail, it means that whatever you try to do in that specific case may not have worked, but there's things in what you did that were good that you could take on to the next version of that, right? So success leaves clues. My biggest success growth happened when I decided not to be the smartest person in the room. I began to go back into studying, what successful people do. I've always learned that whatever industry you're in, that innovation comes from outside that industry. So, we're here, we're providing financial education, not only to you, the consumer, but we're like talking to agents and advisors that have been brought into the financial world and have been trained in a way that is so suboptimal, especially in the insurance space. There's like a 90 to a 95% failure rate for insurance agents. And I believe it's because the training is not good. It's outside first. It's not inside out. And it really doesn't come down to a true map based on what your economics are. So what they typically like to do is grab the doctor's son or the lawyer's son, or, go to rich neighborhoods and grab those kids whose parents have influence. So now all of a sudden the child gets a license, they have dinners for him, and they say, hey, invite all your parents, family, and friends so they could come and we could celebrate you becoming an agent. And that's a way of getting business right away. Problem is, once the payouts go down and once there's no more doctors to talk to and they genuinely don't have a real strategy, that's where 95% fail. So innovation is key. Really kind of building a company around folks that you would invite into your living room. I see a lot of YouTube folks out there that are crushing it in this space and they're hiring a lot of people. They're hiring fast, and we don't do that here. We hire very slow. We take our time. So I want to introduce Alexa Criolla. She spent some really good time with some of the members here at Epic. And Alexa, how are you? Happy day today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. And listen, I think that, we met, we had the good fortune of meeting each other through the world of Unblinded.
Yes.
Right? So Unblinded, if anybody knows, is a peak performance training, coaching company with predictability in sales, how to go from hello to yes. When I look at the founder, the person whose formula has been injected inside of Unblinded, my partner, Sean Callaghy, also my coach and mentor, he has now created this movement that really no one knows about yet. But at the end of the day, if you're in sales and if somebody said, hey, we could show you how to go from hello to yes with predictability, not necessarily invite your parents, family, and friends. Not to say that that doesn't work, because it does on some level, but beyond that, that's what he's created, whether you're a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, an insurance agent, whatever business you're in. And I think you and I met, I'd say about 6 months ago. I know you spent some time with David Harder, spent a lot of time with Eddie Gartner. And as we've gone through our journey together, it's been a natural fit. And we're excited to bring you on board. And if you don't mind just sharing with the folks, like where are you from? Like, where did it all start from? And by the way, we're doing the formula right now, but where did it start from for you?
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm very excited to be here and embark in this new journey, really. And if I had to say where it started, I was a pre-med student looking to go that route, stumbled upon the financial industry. I've been in the financial industry for about 3 years now. And I felt in the last company I worked with that I had reached my limit there. There wasn't much else that I could have learned. The business model was not something that aligned with me personally. And when I found Unblinded, it was a breath of fresh air. It was about integrity. It was about loving people unconditionally with boundaries. It was about asking better questions and learning how to really serve people in a deeper level. And that's something that I wanted to master, and I knew I couldn't do it in that environment.
So Alexa, let me ask you a question. This is awesome. Think about it, folks. And by the way, when you get to know Alexa, you'll realize that she is an entrepreneur. Her hustle, even on weekends outside of the financial services industry, is incredible. But with that being said, pre-med, wow, I'm Rob from Bayonne. I was in college for 4 years, but only really attended class for 2.5 years. I had 67 credits. I did lead my fraternity to an undefeated basketball season my junior year after I failed off the regular basketball season. So pre-med, that's unbelievable to me. Wow. How did you, like, what happened that you said, wait a minute, I don't know about pre-med, but this financial services thing sounds pretty good. Do you know exactly what it was that drove you into it, or is it just something that you wanted to try?
No, I know exactly what got me into this position. So I'm from Queens, New York, and I'm from Colombian descent, very proud. And my family, my parents, I always saw them work really, really hard, save money. And they have succeeded, in my eyes, so much. Wow. We went from living in a basement to they now own their home and own 2 different homes. And I thought that was amazing, but there was a cap there. There was something that they didn't know, information that we weren't given in school, even when you paid for it, which was in college when I went to school for 4 years and I graduated with debt. And I said to myself, wow, if I go to school for the next 7 years, I know my parents would have sold the house to put me through med school, but I wasn't going to do that to them. You know, I was going to put myself through school. And if that meant doing another career part-time, then that was going to be it.
Awesome. So who, like, where were you when you said, let me try this financial thing out? Like, did you read something in the paper? Did somebody approach you? What was it that kind of got you in the door?
I had graduated college, and a cousin of mine was working in the financial services industry, and it seemed like a lot of opportunity to make money and with less effort. And I said, you know what? I want to do this to learn what I haven't been taught. So if I could learn this for myself and help my family become more financially literate and more financially successful,
awesome.
That's great. That's really why I did it. I didn't do it for the career. I did it for me and my family.
Awesome. Well, it's funny because I share often that when I got my job on Wall Street, it's because there was no other jobs for me to have. I had no choice, right? My buddy, not my buddy, but somebody I knew was an arsonist. And he was about to go to jail. True story. Wow. And he said, listen, I know somebody, I can get you a job on Wall Street if you want to be a stockbroker. And I was like, do you have to graduate college? He said, no. I was like, great. And for me at that particular point, I had stopped drinking. So it was when I wasn't drinking anymore, I needed a job and they paid me $150 a week to make $400 a day. Wow. That was like my learning in the beginning of it. Then I fell in love with the business and the education. I come from a blue collar background. My parents did own a house, but then they sold it, never owned it again. They owed taxes 25 years later. So the financial mindset of my parents was always scarce, and they did the best they can for kids. They, gave us nothing but love. But their ability to have a relationship with money that you would think was something they disdained by the way they spent it and didn't plan accordingly, was something that was a motivation for me not to have that same relationship once I stopped drinking, and this was in 1996. So thank you for sharing that. And I love the fact that, you knew that, at least you thought that if you went to med school, your parents would kind of sell everything just to put you in a position to prosper.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to the financial services industry and you got your first job, do you remember, and this is for the agents that are out there, what the training model was? And from what I understand, you were very successful in that process. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, thank you for sharing your side. And I think that the best thing that I could say, I was wealthy with love, right? So that was nice. So I had it was very abundant in that area, and that's where I know that they would have done anything for me. Yes. So I had to give back. And so, in that space, it was, who do you know? And you're going to sit down with the people that your warm market, and you're going to sell them these products. Yeah. And you're going to get other people to do the same thing. And that was kind of the model that I was taught.
How did that feel? Like, how
dirty.
Did it feel? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because they didn't teach me during my mentorship, they didn't teach me how to really ask better questions and focus on the relationship, I started to, after a while, shamefully, I would look at people and I would say, okay, and I would think, check. I would think, okay, if I do 5 of these and 4 of these, I'm good for the month at this amount. And I'm not going to say it didn't work at some level. Like you said, I did have success. But I think when you succeed without integrity, it goes away really quickly.
Wow. So hold on, all you sales managers and GAs that are out there. I got to tell you something. I know that you've created success to get where you are. But at the end of the day, if your model is going to be about telling somebody to sit down with their warm market and either recruit them and or sell them products, I got to tell you, it doesn't feel right for me either. And some of you people I love, and I know you're going to get all kinds of triggered when I say this, but at the end of the day, a 95% fail rate is not good, even if you're succeeding financially. Even if the client still stays on the books at the organization you're with, the truth is, and I'm wondering this, did anybody find out what the client's core values were, what their investment philosophy was? And I'm willing to bet 9 times or 9.5 times out of 10, the answer is no. So I still love you though. And listen, I'll love you with boundaries, straight up. Just don't hate. Listen, as you see what's happening over here, because we do things differently. And by the way, this is for the agents, advisors that are out there. We do things differently. We stumbled upon something that, because of hard work, asking the right questions, transformational vocabulary, has led us down to a path that, as of right now, we're pioneering something that doesn't exist. You could be part of the party, but it's not on your rules, it's on our rules. Okay, so now, I really like what you said, because it sounds like you were in search for something. And you may have, whatever you were feeling, however you were feeling, but Unblinded came into your world.
Yes, thank
right?
God.
And awesome. And what was it about that? What was the aha moment, the moment of, and Unblinded, folks, if you're in any kind of sales, let me tell you right now, their formula, their science, their breakdown on how to communicate with people is the best thing I've ever seen. And I've been doing this a long time. What was it about that, though, that made you feel like, how can I take that model and apply it to where I'm at today, where I'm not asking friends and family to invest or become licensed agents?
Yeah. So when I stumbled upon Unblinded, because that's really what happened.
You think it was divine intervention by your higher power?
I do think so.
Okay.
Because
not to get God on you, but
yes, because I was looking for mentorship. I knew that I couldn't mentor myself. I knew that I needed someone to model and to teach me things I didn't know and I couldn't see. So when I stumbled upon Unblinded, it was really, for me, the integrity. Because no matter what you do, the truth sometimes is not the nicest thing, but it's the truth. It is what it is. And you do that for people in their best interest always. So even if they may not like what you have to say, if you know you're being truthful and transparent, you know you're doing the right thing.
So what was it about, as you dug deeper into, what was it that you liked from a business perspective, right? That you said, wait a minute, I could do this differently, and this is how. Like, what was it? For anyone that's out there that's like an entrepreneur that wants to learn about sales, that is like, yeah, I'm in the insurance business right now, but they want me to ask my dad's best friend to sit down. I don't know anything about business planning, but they want me to do a premium finance case. Like, what was it about Unblinded and that formula of radical honesty, right? That's what you're talking about, integrity. Yes. But how did that apply to your thinking when it came to the business? That's an important distinction.
I mean, I think it was also the idea of merging ecosystems. Excellent. Yeah, that was when that concept was taught to me, and I'm still learning. You know, the level of mastery never ends. I'm always trying to be better at this and understand it deeper. But that was mind-blowing. Yeah. It's like, wow, you know, you build relationships with people, you have a mutual relationship with when you're both, you're bringing something of value to each other, and everyone wins, right? The client wins, both of your businesses thrive, and that's the point.
So if you're out there saying, oh yeah, no, it's a B&I group, that's not what she's saying right now. Just so we're on the same page. What she's saying, just to be clear, is merging ecosystems means that Alexa has a community, Joe over here or Mary over here has a community, and in that space, how can they together provide value on what each person's heroic, unique identity is, so the folks that are in their communities can be able to gather information and make good, sound decisions based on whatever that they're bringing to the world, right? Is that what merging ecosystems is?
Yes.
Okay. So now all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is really cool. Merging ecosystems. It's not a BNI group. I'm not going to a diner at 7:30 in the morning. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I'm not going to go meet the chambers of commerce, because remember, there was no other plan. Listen, it's like anything else. When something new comes, it didn't exist before, but it does have ingredients of something that existed before. So in the insurance industry, it's like your top 200, join a BNI group, become partners with an estate attorney, and get with an accountant. They work, right? You could be successful if you do that. But then how do you communicate the language to an accountant, why that accountant should look at you versus all the other agents that are out there, or why that accountant should, or the estate attorney should look at you versus all the other agents that are out there? And I think that's where the formula becomes very powerful, because at the end of the day, it's about how you have that conversation, right? Yes. With an accountant, with an estate attorney, somebody else that's in a business where you could kind of like merge those ecosystems. Once you joined Unblinded, have you been able to merge ecosystems or do their real raw that's produced success for you?
Yes. So thankfully I have. With their real raw, it's super fun. It's an environment that is inviting and a little bit scary, because you think traditional business people are going to think this is a little odd, weird, something they've never seen before, but it really opens up their listening, and it opens up that conversation, and you get to see everyone in a different light, because at the end of the day, every business person is a human. Yep. They have a story. They got into the position they're in for different reasons, and when you are doing business with someone, you want to know who they are. Mm-hmm. And I think we're heading towards, I want to believe, heading towards a world where that matters a lot more. You'd rather do a business with this person, even if it's a smaller business, because you know who they are, where they came from, as opposed to maybe a big corporation, for an example.
Yeah, somebody you would invite in your living room.
Exactly, right? So it was great to see that there's such positive response to it. So when you're learning the formula, this is amazing, but you get kind of nervous to tell people about it that maybe have never heard of it. Yes. But it's always a great response from people.
Yeah, you said a lot of great things just now. I want to anchor in on something that it took me a while to understand what it meant, even though organically I experienced it. But now scientifically, I could create it on the spot. And this is where Alexa just mentioned opening listening, right? That's important if you're in sales, because what she just said is if you're speaking to somebody, there's actually a process that you can do with integrity that allows them to listen to you in a way they may not listen to other people in the same exact business what you do.
Yeah, and it's surprising. It's crazy.
Right? And when you see it happen, it's like, did that just happen? You know what I mean? Like, is it really happening? And opening listening really means that, because you didn't sit there and tell them all about yourself. You actually listened to them talk because you asked them 5 specific questions, right?
Yes.
And those 5 questions are where have you been? Where are you now? Where are you going? What are your successes? And what are your challenges? And if you really master those questions, and by the way, none of this could be done in 10 minutes if you want to be successful. But if you master those questions, what happens is you opening the listening to the person that you're speaking to.
Yes.
And now, after you've spent the time to build rapport, and that's what those 5 questions do, it's never been seen before. I mean, somebody may have talked about it, but I've been in all different sales. I've never heard of it before in my life until I met Sean. Now, all of a sudden, people are like telling you their life story. And Sean always speaks about Oprah Winfrey said that, for what she had done for 30, 35 years, is let people know that she hears them and she sees them and what they say matters. That's what those 5 questions are for, because every single one of you folks matter. And the challenges in the financial services industry, you think that you work for the advisor, the accountant, or the attorney, and that's not the case. They work for you. And when somebody says, hey, Rob, what's the minimum at Epic? And I say, there is no minimum, right? Because I see people in my business that aren't doing 10% as well as we are, that's saying, I'm only going to talk to somebody if they have $1 million. Like, I would never say that, because you have people that are not getting educated, that want to be educated, that are family oriented, and that are looking for proper planning. So we have enough members here that there are no minimums. But to the point of opening listening, once that happens, at the end of the day, folks don't necessarily buy from the most certain person. They buy from the person that they feel really genuinely cares about them. 100%. Right? So can you speak a little bit about like how did we connect? Like, what happened? Like, you're here now, you're part of Epic, and you've met some of the members. What was it about those meetings that's like, hey, wait a minute, I want to be with this team?
Well, like you mentioned before, divine intervention. I through Unblinded, I got connected with Eddie and Dave and eventually you. And after all the conversations and seeing how you talk to clients and really the fundamentals that you focus on and the values that you have as a business is what drew me the most. Yep. Because in reality, financial services are financial services. Yep. But it's about the environment also that you're around. And if I saw myself growing and learning and seeing someone that I wanted to model and to mirror. And for a long time, I was lacking that. Yep. So it was just me leading myself. It's like the blind leading the blind. And it's difficult to grow that way. Yep. It's difficult to learn more. So I saw myself in a space with a lot of growth, a space that was very innovative, that was taking a different approach to an old system. And I love that, because the educational approach is everything. Mindset is everything. Yeah. If you don't have the right mindset when it comes to anything, you will not succeed long term. Yeah. So we want to build sustainable financial education, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. And I think what I love the most about where Epic is now and where it's going from a scalability standpoint is some blue ocean strategies that don't exist here right now. And we have female advisors that are pound for pound phenomenal versus all of our other advisors based on their production. And I have no doubt that Alexa is going to be that person, except there's one other thing that she brings to the table that for us we've never had. And if you could talk about the vision over the next 2 or 4 years, besides the normal thing that you're going to do being part of Epic, I'm excited that we have you in that space, because it's something we never had. But I also believe it's not just something we never had, but I believe that you could have people that can do something, but my experience tells me that this is going to happen, and it's going to happen in a way that is going to really be able to carry our message forward. If you could share a little bit about what you shared with me, your vision for the next 2 to 4 years, 1 to 3 years.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously I joined the team to add value in any way that I can. I want to not only learn, but be the source of that, add something different. And for me, it is tapping into the Latino community. Yeah. I think that there's so many Latino business owners and people in that community that have hardworking mentality. That mentality is very, very big in our culture. They may have success in business, but everything that you talk about, you and Eddie and in your videos, education-wise, is something I want to bring into that space. Yeah. Because I'm very grateful that I am fluent in Spanish. It was my first language. And if I could be that bridge, I would love that. That would be a dream.
That's so awesome. And thank you for sharing that. And when I think about Alexa, I don't just think the Latino market, because I also realize that, it doesn't matter who she's speaking to. So she's going to be able to have the ability to do both. And I'm not going to be able to have the ability to speak in the Latino market in Spanish, because I don't know how to speak Spanish. Right? So the value that she brings there is incredible. But there was one other thing you shared with me that really touched my heart. And you talked about your why and what gives you leverage every day. I don't know if you want to share it. It's up to you. But I really think if people understood that last final piece, it's so easy to want to work with you.
So I don't mind sharing, but my why has always been my family.
Yep.
I plan on retiring my mother within the next year. I do not want her to work anymore. And if she wants to, she can, but I don't want her to have to ever worry about money. This past 2 years has been very hard on us, especially her. Unfortunately, I lost my father because of COVID.
I didn't know that. Rest in peace. I'm so sorry.
In April. And that turned my life upside down, because if I had to tell you who the most significant person in my entire life was, it would be my father. He is the epitome of everything I stand for. And it was very hard for our family, for my mother, who was married to him for 25 years. And so I vowed that was going to turn into something positive. The scariest thought my father ever had was that I was going to go down a wrong path. Yeah. He was, when I was a kid, it was always something that was present. But I said, okay, this is tragic and it's horrible, and this could either break me or propel me into being something that I didn't even think that I could be. So my goal is to make sure that because that happened, I'm going to accelerate and not only retire my mother, but I'm going to make sure that I'm the start of generational wealth, because
tremendous.
Because he would have wanted that.
Thank you. That's unbelievable. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sitting here, by the way, I'm not judging, but I'll watch YouTube videos, and there'll be like, there's certain companies that sell insurance, but they do it under a marketing strategy, and they'll bring agents on and talk about that they made $18,000 this month. And I'm like, that's not who we are here at Epic. We're not gonna say how much an agent made this month, but we are building a culture and a movement in this space that didn't exist. And everything you just shared about family first, her why being not only her retiring her mom, but also the relationship with her dad. I know that I have a daughter, and she's in 6th grade, and the thoughts that your dad may have had that he shared with you, I totally get it. I'm not confused about that. And what EPIC stands for here is empower, protect, integrate, coordinate. That's who we are. That's our DNA. And this right here, Alexa's a prime example of exactly who we are looking to build our company and brand around to serve you. That is seeking the financial education. There is no overnight success. I'm not saying Bitcoin is good or bad. What we're saying is investment philosophy is the most important thing. And, she was just sharing about generational wealth, and she wants to put her flag in the ground and make the difference in her family tree. I relate to that. I felt the same way. I'm the youngest of 4. The next youngest is 8, and then 10 and 12 years older than me. And if you look at, the Bayonne Gills over the last 100 years, very good family values. You said something before, rich in love, right?
Yes.
A few financially successful, some, not in my immediate family, was financially responsible. But at the end of the day, the track record is something I've always wanted to create that shift as well. So a lot of things that Alexa was just sharing, it resonated with me. But this is really about the entrepreneur, whether you're whatever kind of business you have, understanding that if you want to increase your sales with integrity, there's a map. If you're an insurance agent and you're stuck in a captive situation and you feel like there's no other place to go because of commitment and consistency, because you've been with the group for a long time, and you feel like that, there's no hope, you're looking for economic redemption. I think Alexa was talking a little bit about that as well, from a standpoint that independence was important. The ability to kind of create her own version of what this looks like from the Latino community. I know in our business that you'll have GAs that specifically recruit either Korean, Latino, Chinese, Indian, just for those markets. Although it is strategic, I don't necessarily believe in that. What I do believe in is impact. And I do believe that, people should really be able to get their message out to everybody. So I want to thank you so much for coming on today. We weren't prepared for this. I want everyone to know that we just sat here and we're just kind of going through the process, but we're trying to bring as much raw, real data to you out there so you can make decisions both in the business, you can make decisions as an entrepreneur. And by the way, if you're seeking investment information, not investment, but if you're seeking financial education, go ahead and click that link below. If you're looking for any future videos, make a comment. If you have any comments about what we talked about, please add some comments. But at the end of the day, on a daily basis, we're providing as much education as we can. Is there anything that you want to just share with the folks as a thought or an exit to the conversation?
Well, I want to say thank you again for having me on here and allowing me to talk about what's most important to me, because that always feels good. And to everyone out there, just click the link and get educated, because this stuff is important and you don't want to miss out.